So, after contemplating a bit too much on this movie, and now that the weekend is over and most of everyone probably out there have watched this, you know what? Let's do a bit of a spoiler review. It's not gonna be like an hour long thing, but just gonna be touching a few things that I think were good and some of bad in there. So, let's start with the good. The family aspect of this thing was really good. All right, working together, the whole family. You can see them going in there. You can sense the danger. You can sense like the camaraderie between them. The family aspect of the dialogue between the characters was actually real nice. So that was great. Also, visually, I've heard bad things about it, but honestly, for me, it worked. It worked. I do think the world felt like its own. It was like this gooey, not proper in any way. It just felt different. It felt its own thing. It doesn't feel complete. It feels broken in so many ways. It feels weird. And it worked for me. So the world itself was great. Now, was it fully realized, something like Avatar: The Way of Water? No. Then they could have done that, and that's where also the negative for this situation comes in. Is that yeah, you could have seen the world building. You could see a bit more of like what's going out there, what's the life, what's happening. And then that also goes into another point which I'll touch later. But overall though, the world itself felt unique. Now the cast itself, again, Ant-Man, the characters did feel like the characters, did feel like dumbed down in any way or so, didn't feel different, did feel the characters themselves, especially in a movie like where Kang is that big thing. You're like, yeah, humor is gonna like break everything. When Kang is there, the humor does not destroy the moment. When he's there, it's locked in. That's it. That's the guy. And you can't bring in that Ant-Man humor and all that. So they found a perfect way to kind of blend that Ant-Man humor and with like the how Kang, the danger that in front of them, to kind of mix them both together. So that was good. Some of the action set pieces were actually really nice visually, especially towards the end. It was great to see when the whole like ant attacking and the whole war is going on. Also, there's a negative to it, but visually, it actually looked great. It made sense in what it was trying to do, and it worked. That comes like the whole lot of negative, which was the pacing and the cuts and all in this movie. Now, pacing in itself was perfectly fine. Is that the movie keeps going? You never feel bored. It's like 2 hour and 2 minutes, like with credits, and it keeps going. You like it. You don't feel bored in terms of like the pacing itself, and it keeps going, and you're with the movie. But it is choppy as hell. This movie is choppy. There are scenes that are cut from within. And for example, there's a moment where there's a Kang people are attacking, all right, and this village, and they're all running, and there's a point where Cassie and Ant-Man, something hits, and they basically separate, and you're like, oh, okay, we're gonna see some danger. Okay, now they're separated. What's gonna happen? Within that moment, the right next second, they get up and they're together. And there are moments like this continuously through the movie. It's like one point there's a character that's laying down, it got hit. The very next second, you're like, okay, how are you gonna get out of that? Oop, convenient. They're just up, no problem at all. They're not hit, no scratches, no nothing. And you're like, okay, then it's way too convenient, or the movie's cut. And the more and more you watch and the more it goes, you really feel like it's very choppy. And that's the issue with this movie, is that a lot of it is not there. There are scenes you can tell that the person is in danger. All right, how are you going to get out of it? There's a point where Ant-Man has to go within this core. It's blown up, so the whole thing, it's a big thing in the second act. You go in there, you got to get that out. All right, now Ant-Man multiplies because how time kind of works, and it's kind of affect his mind, and it multiplies, and we're like, okay, how are you going to be able to like get out of it? And all of a sudden, within a few moments, It just happens. He's onto it. He's the leader. He's gonna get out of this. All right, next second, how is the family gonna get to that? They go through a few hurdles, no problem. All of a sudden, they know where he is. They get there. At the middle of it, Kang has a technique that they introduce, and it's a big loophole in my opinion, where he just a flick of finger, he can move people, and they can do nothing. He can just stop people right in their step, and they can do nothing. I was like, this is dangerous. So that's the thing. The first act and the second act, the way they introduce Kang, the way they gotta go about his character, he means business. There is no funny business. The guy is serious. The dialogue is minimal. The way he talks, you can tell the man's gonna rip you apart. And that technique that I'm saying, the flick of the finger, you're like, okay, how are you gonna be able to find a way to do that? And then in the third act, you see this whole ant colony like attacking, they're attacking, and he's like protecting some with the shield. I'm like, at that point, why are you protecting yourself with the shield? Like, is that technique connected to your armor? Which, okay, makes sense. Your armor is still intact, which later on, the armor gets destroyed and he goes hand to hand with Ant-Man. But then it's like, okay, at that point, maybe it's the armor, the what he wears that gives him that ability. So later on, that happens, maybe I'll understand. But then they introduce this fight beforehand where the ants are attacking and he's trying to like protect himself from the shield with the shield. And all of a sudden, you're like, wait, you can just flick everybody through. Like, what is going on? And the thing is, the moment before, you can tell his senses are working. He's using his techniques. Like, they're Ant-Man and the Wasp. They go into like mini forms and they're trying to attack him. And he can see everything. He can see the minuscule detail. But then all of a sudden, like this ant colony comes in and they're attacking and they're pushing him and he's just protecting himself with the shield. You can just literally keep flicking and they'll just fly off. And it's moments like this within the action, the choppiness of it, that affects the movie. Again, family, as I said, the aspect of it work together. But then again, some of the like the intelligence of the characters are like not used. It's like each character they're intelligent. They have techniques, they have abilities. Wasp, you have Hank Pym, and all like it's a senior Wasp, you know? They all have their abilities, they're intelligent people, but you do not see them in moments in this movie where they can kind of use their abilities. Hank Pym has a moment later on where it's like, oh yeah, what he built in the real world kind of comes back and helps him. But within moment to moment where they're like in a situation where you want to see these characters use their mind, kind of see how they can get out of this situation, you don't see that. You don't see that, and it's the choppiness again. There's probably a movie out there that is like 2.5 hour long or 3 hour long, which is a lot better movie because you can tell scenes are cut out even within the action. You can tell like this just cut out so that the character can go from there to there. All of a sudden, it's like, wait, you were just laying down or you just got hurt. Now you're up, and without any help, like what is happening? It's just quick in a manner, so the pacing works, but at the same time, to get that pacing the way they wanted, they also kind of like hit the movie really bad because like you can tell like they just took stuff out, so the pacing just keep going and going. I wouldn't mind a longer movie where like they're kind of settled down, they're talking, you can have character moments. And then there is the aspect of the people of this world. We're the saviors. All of a sudden, they're attacking. They're like this conqueror, Kang the Conqueror, and you're like, wait, we're supposed to care about these people, but this is the first time we're meeting this group. Would it be nice to actually see their story, see what happened, what these characters are? Like they introduced them, and there's the introductions are so minuscule that at the end when the characters are used in this world where it's like they're all attacking Kang in this like the world that he's built, you don't feel that satisfaction. It's kind of the same thing as Rise of the Skywalker, where it's like the Avengers Endgame moment where it's like it mattered because you were with these characters for so long, movie after movie. So when they all came together, it was like it was heartfelt. It was like finally you wanted that moment. Here it's in the same way. They use that same kind of logic where like, oh, let's bring in all these characters to like attack King the Conqueror, and you're like, wait, I just met these characters. Why do I need to root for them other than like, oh, they're in danger? And that's the other negative. It's like they're in danger. Kang is the Conqueror. Like, in the third act, Kang is defeated like pretty much, very much easily. All right, as I said, with the ants and all, and then there are moments where like they show him like destroying these world, but it's cut so badly. You're like, I'm trying to look at the scene, how bad is he, and the movie doesn't show you. It shies away from showing that violence, like Kang the Conqueror, he's that dangerous. It does not show that. It does not show him like, ruining these people's lives so that we have an emotional connect. And that's a big negative. It's like, and we're helping these people, or Kang is the Conqueror, he's really dangerous. He is dangerous to his characterization, but you want to see it, and they don't show it in the way they were supposed to show. And again, it's cut out, and you can tell it's cut out where the sequence where they're trying to show how bad he is, it's cut out so badly. You're like, wait, I want to see the sequence, like a 1 minute long sequence where you're like, he's just destroying things, or at least a moment with him where you're actually like using his abilities, and you can tell where he's coming from and all. You don't see that. So that's my issue with this movie. It's just, that's why the mixed feeling is that I don't think the movie is bad or it's like a wreck fest, but this movie could have been so much better. But because of all this like cut stuff and the all the stuff that's just like feel that it's like it should be there, it's not there, it really hurts the movie. So that's kind of my take. I went on a rambling on speech, not too sure, but let me know what you thought about this. That's kind of my take. So thank you so much for watching. Thanks for all the support. I'll see you all soon. Until then, ta-da, a